made treaties with the United States in 1852, the United States Senate decided, when it went back to the Senate for final approval, decided that they were not going to approve any of those 18 treaties. And so then none of the tribes here were left with any land that was legally under the American dominant society theirs. And so colonizers, invaders kept settling on their land, pushing the native people away. But where we were at here, like out in the desert, people didn't want to come out to the desert because it was hot, it was remote, it was more populated by native people. And so we were one of the last areas where the invaders came in. And but everyone west of here was just stormed, and they lost a lot of land, a lot of people. But because of those treaties were not ratified, the people just came in and took all of our land away. They settled on all of our land. They claimed it. And because we were native people, we were not citizens of the U.S., we couldn't claim any of our lands at all. So it wasn't until 1876, under executive order, when the United States president, under President Grant, said, okay, we're going to establish these reservations here. And then it was a year later, President Hayes expanded those reservations into a larger acreage. But we still just got just pieces of our land.
And then I think the Dawes Act happened after that,
where
they split up all of America into like about 10-acre plots. Then they said, these are the plots that are taken. These are the ones that are still available, and go settle them. And it didn't matter if those landed in the lines of the treaties. If it was on the chart, they could go settle it.
So with the Dawes Act, and so with the tribes, if they hadn't divvied out all the land that they were given, so then the Dawes Act allowed it, so made those lands become surplus, and so then they were sold, or they were given to outsiders.
Yeah, there's people still
that's crazy.
Yeah, there's people that still own plots of land that were taken through the Dawes Act on where my tribe is.
Really?
Yeah, their ancestors, I mean their lineage, their bloodline, they still own those plots of land there. And that's how a lot of our tribal lands got taken. And then there's a couple tribes up there. There's the Hoopa, there's the Karuk, there's the Yurok, and there's the Tolowa. We're all right there in the Northern California. And I got cousins that are Hoopa and Yurok, and family members that are Tolowa. The Tolowa's reservation is minuscule now at this point, to where it's just a tiny sliver of land right on the coast.
How big is it? Do you know?
I mean, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I can tell you, you can walk the entire neighborhood in 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, well, that's just the housing part. Of course, you can walk down to the coast, and then that'll be like another 10-minute walk, and they have a small casino right there. But either way, it's all walkable within like a half an hour. That's how small that their land is right there. And a lot of those lands that were taken, they're farmlands, and they farm flowers that they send to Japan. It's not even anything that can be used by the community. And it's just kind of enraging to think about that as well.
Wow. So maybe they're making good money.
They make a lot of money selling those flowers because it's like the perfect conditions, and the Japanese, they use those culturally for, decoration. They use them in their own. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, how they use those flowers, but it's popular, and they spend a lot of money or buying them from Northern California. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
A lot of those farms, they went under during COVID, though, because of the Embargo Act and that was going on, and there wasn't a lot of country-to-country trading. And so since their primary economy was Japan, that's where they bought the flowers from, they couldn't ship the flowers to Japan. So now they're kind of like going out of business at this moment. I guess everybody gets their karma somehow. but we'll see a lot of the natives up there. They don't have the money to be able to purchase those lands back. So we'll see. It's mostly lumber up there, and now there's not a lot of lumber jobs. The lumber industry is kind of dying. A lot of people working at the prison, but that's not as big anymore either. There aren't a lot of jobs up there.
Well, we've heard of land back, and maybe some of that will happen up there as this happens in other places around the country where, land that had been used by institutions or by different governments is no longer needed. And so they'll donate it back to the tribe, to the tribal people, or to an organization of tribal people.
There's a little bit that happened when we formed the tribe. Basically, there was a lumber company that had came to the people, the villages, and they basically said, "Hey, look, we want to cut down some trees and for lumber to build houses and things of that nature." And the kindness of our hearts were like, "Okay, well, the trees aren't ours, so just where do you want to cut them down?" And they kind of tricked us in a sense where they said, "Well, can you mark on this map where we're allowed to cut the trees?"
Yes.
And so we said, "Okay, well, go ahead, cut in this area." We circle on the map. And then they used that as a contract to say that we gave them that land. And but we actually took them to court and ended up getting a huge settlement and getting a lot of that land back. So that's nice. But there's still lumber companies up there that own a large portion of land. So, yeah.
Interesting.
So it's all that sneaky backdoor stuff. And we just thinking, well, we don't own the land. What do you mean you're going to own the land and the sky and the river and the water?